Today's next conversation is with Kim Salvaggio. She is the head of the Center on Colfax, which among other things puts on Denver Pride Fest. Welcome to Next.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It has been kind of a tumultuous couple of years for Denver's Pride Fest, other cities around the country as well. What is the situation with plans for this year, a couple months out?
So the biggest change that people will see is that we will not be in Civic Center Park this year as it is under construction. And so we had to find a new location in Denver for about 500,000 people. And we are going to be on 16th Street. It was a great partnership with the city. It is the heart of the city, so the vibrancy that our community will be able to experience, 16th Street is where we are.
And how about the idea of going down Colfax as you traditionally do? Nobody can go down Colfax.
Nobody can go down Colfax, much less a huge parade for Pride. So we'll be on 17th Street this year, as we were last year. We got a lot of really positive feedback from the community about 17th Street, so that's where we are again this year.
When I think of Pride in Denver, I obviously think of Civic Center, but I also think of Colfax, right? And the community clearly embraces it. Now we're going to have those bus rapid transit arches every couple of blocks and that kind of. Could you have a parade down Colfax?
You know, I want to be open to the opportunity that it might be able to work somehow. And as you said, it's an important history. Christy Lane led the first Pride Parade down Colfax almost 52 years ago. It would be an important part of our history to keep, but we have to find something that feels safe for the community too. Buses and parades don't necessarily go well together, and people need to be able to get around Denver. So the answer is I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. I'm open to it though, for sure.
So instead of Civic Center, which is under construction, you'll all be down on 16th Street. Don't say mall anymore, just 16th Street.
I've learned.
Yep.
No 16th Street. It's just 16th Street.
One day instead of two.
Yes.
Why?
That's a great question. Really, it came down to the cost and the safety for us to secure 16th Street overnight. We really couldn't do. So we decided to do one day of the festival on 16th, and instead we've opened up multiple events across the city starting on June 4th. Partly it was too hard to do it for 2 days on 16th, and also we get a lot of community feedback, and that community feedback said a giant couple 100,000 person festival is not for everyone. So now we've got events starting June 4th all the way through the Free Festival, which is on the 28th. Everything from a book fair to a dog drag show. That's my personal favorite. All sorts of different events that people can go to. So I keep telling people, get ready to build your gay agenda. DenverPride.org.
Your agenda for the month. So do you think the one day thing is a this year thing, and then next year maybe back at Civic Center 2 days? Is this just the new reality with your funding picture? What do you think?
I think we need to remain open to both. Civic Center Park has a very important history for our community. We've been there for decades celebrating in that park, along with a lot of other festivals and organizations. I always have to look at what is it to honor the history, but also keep us moving forward. The financial picture is what we raise at Denver Pride is what funds the Center on Colfax, and that is 100% free, life-changing, vital resources for our community 12 months a year. So for me, I evaluate the financial situation of what makes our community feel seen and heard and authentically able to celebrate Pride while raising money for us to run the programs we need to at the center for our community.
How do you view the tension between the idea of Pride born of protest now with corporate sponsorship, right? Mm-hmm. Like it takes money to put on events, but at the same time there's that aspect of like this act of resistance brought to you by, and that's weird.
There's a social responsibility for us in who we take money from. We did a lot of community listening and came up with a vetting process for anybody that offers us money, which we have community members on that committee to help us determine, is this person offering us money? Are they aligned with the LGBTQ community? Are we aligned? Are they aligned with our mission, which is to engage, empower, and advance the livelihood of LGBTQ people in Colorado? That vetting process is something we take very seriously. Could we run Pride without corporate sponsors? No, we couldn't. It is an important fabric of how we're able to bring those free services to the community center throughout the year. But I do think we have a responsibility in asking, is this organization aligned with us? Or are they actively engaged in harm some way against our community, against war or profiting from war, not just within our borders, but extended anywhere throughout the globe? Those are important questions we have to ask before we accept a dollar.
Is that vetting criteria public?
It will be on our website on DenverPride.org. And there's also You can see the rubric that we're using, and also it's members of our community that are taking us through that process so that their voice is directly at the table when we make those decisions.
You said that you couldn't put on Pride without corporate sponsorship. Could you put on Pride as an event, not as a fundraiser for the center, without corporate dollars? But then you'd have to find another way to fund your work at the center.
If there's a donor out there that wants to call me and give me $2 million every single year to fund free resources and programs at the center, I will put my phone number on your website and they can call me and give us that money. But right now, with 500,000 people that want to come to Denver to celebrate Pride and the free resources that we need to be able to offer our community, corporate sponsors is a great way for us to do that. And I will say, a lot of our corporate sponsors, these are the ERGs, the employee resource groups that exist within these corporations, that it is a way for them to make a statement with their dollars, that they stand with our community and with the employees that work there. That's not a bad thing for us to engage with. So for right now, yes, corporate sponsors is the way until I get that $2 million annual donation.
When you talk about the employee resource groups, right? This is a lot of the stuff that a number of companies have taken a step back from in the second Trump presidency, right? You know, companies are afraid of retribution or other actions. Have you found a change in attitudes from last year to this year among possible corporate sponsors?
There has been a change in attitude. I will say what we see more so is whether or not companies had to defund their DEI efforts or whether they decided to double down on them. And we've seen both. We've seen organizations that have been with us for a long time that said, hey, we're not going to be able to do this. And we've seen new ones come in. So, you know, with a 1 year sort of study over it, what I can say is I feel good where we are with corporate sponsors. I love that they're coming back and that we've established new relationships. And sometimes it is, you know, the ERG groups that they don't have the money that they used to from their corporation because of some of the harmful tactics that have been put in. That's hard to hear from those groups, that they're still in these organizations, but the money isn't there to support Pride.
I had seen, but did not independently report myself, that you all had seen a 60% loss in corporate dollars. Is that accurate?
That was last year.
That was 24 to 25.
That was 24 to 25 for Pride of 2025. We're not seeing that for Pride of 2026. We are seeing that we're consistently able to reach our metrics that we've been looking at every month to make sure that we're fully funding those programs that we always want to bring our money back to. That is the reason of raising the money, is to provide the free resources. This year feels better. It's not to say that those big corporations have come back. It's that I think we're getting more connection with maybe some more local ones, even smaller donations. Those add up to big dollars sometimes.
And I should put in a disclosure here that I think this is 5-6 years ago, right as we were starting our Word of Thanks Weekly microgiving, I raised for a specific seniors program at the center. That was back in 2020, but I want to make sure I make that disclosure. So around the idea of the corporate sponsorship, so if you use 2024 like as your benchmark, right, and it made headlines that last year you're down more than half over that, where will you be this year projected compared to the 2024 benchmark? So
we try to raise about $850,000 in corporate sponsorships. Right now we're more than halfway there, and we still have 6 weeks until the first event for Pride happens. I know that the back half is always harder than the first half, but we're on track to hit that target. And is that your 2024 benchmark, or is that a recalibrated number? That is a recalibrated number for this year.
Got it. What was the 2024 number, just for our
I don't know that
case?
I know, because I wasn't CEO at the time, but I would imagine it was somewhere in the ballpark of that same amount of money. We've only made slight increases to that budget year over year.
We've seen around the country a number of cities, for one reason or another, lose their Pride Fest, step away from their Pride Fest, right? Knoxville, Tampa, Tucson. They had a very old event there in Tucson. Is Pride still relevant in the way that it was in years past? And how is Denver going to hold on to it when other cities lose it? It's a great question, and I think it's actually one of the ones I get asked more than not, is Pride still relevant? So 52 years ago, Denver Pride started. And the mission when Pride started, not just at Stonewall, but here, was about our civil liberties, it was about our freedom, and it was about us living authentically who we are. That, to me, is just as true today as it was 52 years ago. We are still in a place in our country where we have over 400 pieces of active legislation that is against our LGBTQ community, specifically our transgender and youth. To me, Pride is more relevant this year than it ever has been.
If that is the amount of legislation happening in this country to set the empowerment and the authenticity of our lived experience, we still need pride. Pride is still a protest. It is still a celebration. It is still about our visibility as a community to come together. I am not willing for that to go anywhere. Not just for me in my life today, but for all of the kids right now that are hearing this harmful legislation and this rhetoric that is sometimes brought from the highest places of our government. They need to see us together. They need to see us thriving. That visibility matters.
We've seen simultaneously a couple of things. Colorado's become a haven for families that don't feel welcome in other states. Yet at the same time, there are going to be a couple of anti-trans ballot measures on the ballot in Colorado in November, and they were put there by volunteer signature gathering, that's not a small process. That involves a lot of people who feel very passionately about an issue. How do you square those things, and how do you think Colorado's attitudes are shifting or changing at all?
So the two pieces of legislation you're talking about is ballot measure 109 and 110. 109 is directly aimed at girls in sports. 110 is directly aimed at gender affirming care for individuals that are under the age of 19. They did reach enough signatures that they are on the ballot measure. And again, this is why pride matters and that visibility of 500,000 people coming together in Colorado to say we are here to engage, empower, and enrich the lives of LGBTQ people. What I would say is this is about families and it's not about politics. Decisions around gender affirming care should be made between a family and their doctor. There is no business for a politician to be
Poor guy was just he was in a bad spot with the fundraising stuff. And
I mean, it's a lot.
Okay, so we are back. How far back do we need to go? Just that last question? Okay, fantastic. All right, I'm going to reintroduce over here.
Okay.
Explain the technical issue, and then I'm going to ask you the question again. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for your patience with this. All right. We'll start over here in just a sec. Apologize, a little hitch in the giddy up there. We had a little technical issue, and it means that I'm just going to re-ask the last question that I asked, and Kim's going to answer it again, but just wanted you to be aware of that, full disclosure here. So we've seen in the last couple of years, Colorado's become a haven for families that don't feel safe or wanted in other states. At the same time, we have seen an all-volunteer effort in Colorado that gathered a tremendous number of signatures to put some anti-trans ballot measures on the ballot in November. Do you see attitudes in Colorado shifting or changing at all? How do you reconcile those two things?
It is a lot to reconcile because we are seeing I mean, we've seen a 10% increase in services needed at the center from 2024 until now, and I'm expecting that same increase. And these are primarily folks that are coming from sometimes our border states. We have 26 states in the country that have active pieces of legislation that directly impact the livelihood and the ability to live authentically for the LGBTQ community. So there are two ballot measures in particular, 109 and 110. 109 is a focus on girls in sports. I think our job at the center is to connect our community with information so that when they go to the ballot, they know, or when they cast their ballot, they know what they're voting for or against. 110 is girls in sports. Less than 3% of high school athletes identify as transgender. With 109, there is nothing with that ballot measure that would tell you how we're going to identify if someone is a girl or not. That means that any girl participating in sports in Colorado could be subjected to a visual or physical check to see if they're a girl or not. That to me doesn't feel particularly safe. 110 is focused on our gender affirming care for under the age of 19. This is something that should be decided between families and their doctors, not politicians. We're working with One Colorado and Rocky Mountain Equality to make sure that people in Colorado, when they're casting their ballot, they understand what a vote no on this means. I would recommend that anybody look up Families, Not Politics to get more information on those ballot measures.
Certainly, no community, no group within a community is monolithic in opinion. Is somebody who disagrees with your views on those ballot measures welcome at Pride?
Yes, I think Pride is a place of protest. It can be a place of discussion and dissent. And of course we have disagreement. We have a lot of people that may not understand what transgender or gender affirming care is. And I welcome them into that conversation. Pride should be a place where you want to be there to make sure that you are enriching and empowering and advancing the lives of LGBTQ people. That doesn't mean we all have the same opinion. It means that we engage in civics. That's what is important to me about Pride. What isn't welcome at Pride is if you're coming and you're doing hate speech or you're inciting violence. A discussion where we have a difference of opinions is civics, and that is always welcome at Pride.
Kim Salvaggio, CEO of the Center on Colfax, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.